So here I sit in Richmond, Virginia. One of the things I love about Richmond is that it's filled with history, right? History never dies here. It's very present and alive for those that are willing to learn from it and explore it. Unfortunately, there's not very many people who do that anymore. And so the irony of that is that because they don't know history, right? And they don't learn the lessons from history, they're vulnerable to what wasn't learned occurring again in a different way. And usually it's those that are ignorant of history that actually run it on the opposite side of it, meaning that they become the arbiters, right, of their own ignorance, and then in their own ignorance repeat the pattern, being the ones that are the oppressors a lot of times, right? So what causes that? Huh? What creates those conditions? Your education system, your family unit, right? Your culture in general, complacency and complicity. Now, there are always consequences of that. Now, I love history, and I've learned a lot from history. And I continue to learn a lot from history. And I've learned a lot from my own, which is interesting because I can see things in my own life and how I've been able to learn from my own life because I've been willing to see them. Now, here's another interesting fact. Those that don't know history at large, right, generally don't know much about their own histories. And because they don't know much about their own histories, well, what they do is they live life sleepwalking, right? They live life ignorant of the things that they do, how they affect others, and, they're oblivious. They're not self-aware, right? It's about the unholy trinity of the me, myself, and I. That's their default setting. And so when those people are in any kind of position of power, that's exactly how they rule, be it in the public or private sector. And the outcomes of their leadership, right, of their policies are pretty clear. But see, they can't see that because they're in denial of that, because they're unwilling to learn. Well, when that happens at a mass scale, what you have is you have systematic errors that prop up all over your nation. It also increases the downward pressures on people, which increases the stressors, right? And creates fractures, and that fracturing then has an amplified effect over time, and it weakens the structure. Right? Same thing happens for people, and the same things happens for nations. So, again, if you're unwilling to learn from these things, you're unwilling to actually deal with you, and you're unwilling to learn about your own nation and the things that made your nation, right, good and bad, then you are vulnerable to being used as a proxy against your own best interests. That's exactly what's happening here. You see, the way of life that you have here is dissipating because you have a generation of people that don't know their history and a generation of people that don't care, right? You also have a generation of people, right, that want to hide it from you so they can continue doing what they're doing and not pay any consequences for their own stuff. They don't put this in a political matrix. This is bigger than that. So, being here in Richmond, I'm constantly reminded of history and the consequences of learning from it or not learning from it, good and bad. Unfortunately, I'm far too often alone in that. There are very few people that actually care about that and are willing to actually learn the lessons thereof. Now, how does that affect us and where we're at right now? Well, it's pretty obvious, right? You see, if you're not self-aware of what you're doing, you become a slave to a lie. And what blinds you to your predicament is your pride, your fear, and your confusion. Right? It's an addiction cycle. So here we are in a country that is tearing itself apart, that is divided, that is unwilling to actually address the issues that affect everybody, and the consequences scale. Now, let me put this in terms of those that are in identity politics, right? Your identity in anything other than truth is your Achilles heel, because what you're acting in, right? What you're acting in is not your own best interest, even though you may think you are. That's your deception. What you're actually doing is undermining the ground in which you stand upon. And what I hear every single day, had a conversation earlier today about those who are actually, in the companies, and their companies are literally putting quotas in for transgender and everything else, right? That's not good business, right? It's also absurd, right? What I'm trying to tell you is that you base things upon meritocracy. It's not about sex, right? It is about the reality of, can you do the job, right? Are you good at it? Are you willing to work hard and be rewarded for that? That's not what's happening here. We have the tyranny of stupefaction here, right? No one really gives a damn about anybody else's sex life other than the press and their own deviant sexual ways, right? If you want to live like the back of a urban weekly, that's your choice. But forcing that on the rest of America and forcing it, in the public and private sector is not only unwise, it's self-destructive and it's insane, right? I don't care what gender you're identifying as. I don't care about your virtue signaling. I care about, can you do a job? Are you capable? Are you skilled? Are you honest? Are you willing to do what it is that needs to be done? And what's required of you to be in a position? But that's not at all what's happening, all right? So what's happening is actually destroying your society. And the people that are getting into those positions, right, for these stupid quotas, that's not meritocracy, right? That's tyranny. That's forcing people into positions based upon political correctness and something other than what the requirements are to actually do the damn job. Now, when you do that in government, you undermine, right, your ability to actually rule. And it shows up in your policies, foreign and domestic. And the outcomes thereof become just as idiotic, right, as the people that are actually making them. That is your predicament. That's insanity. You need to start listening, right? If you're going to continue to force your cup on everybody, I'm telling you, you will lose your country. You will. And what you're bringing upon yourself by forcing this crap down everybody's throats is the same reason why it is you've lost credibility around the world. Right? You're on a downward trajectory. Right? Your self-obsession with your mortal coils and your identity thereof in it and what you do proves the saying, professing to be wise, they became fools. You're displaying that to the whole, really to the whole world. Since when does what you do in your bedroom, right, have anything to do with your capabilities of being able to do a job? Right? Would you want to go to a cardiologist when you're having a heart attack, right, based upon that? You see, you're fools. And worse yet, you've actually alienated the rest of us, right? You made enemies out of the rest of us. Now, I don't care what you think about me. That's irrelevant. Right? I don't live my life based upon polls of what you think about me. Right? I've been dealing with this shit since I was a kid. And quite honestly, if this country continues to go the direction it's going, well, I'm just going to tell you, it should fall. It'd be just in being removed from the table of nations. Just telling you. There's a reason why it's the way it is. If you want to try to force everybody to drink the cup of your wormwood, your absinthe, right? That's what you've been doing. You're going to drink it all the way down to the bottom of the cup yourselves. You know, you've alienated the people you actually need to help you fix things, and then you plunder them, misappropriate, misapply, misuse, and then mislead with the information you get from them. Right? That's because you're dead on the inside. You're the ones that are fallacies. You're the ones that are fake. You're the ones that are incompetent, insufficient to be in your positions. And on top of that, you're leveraging those positions over everybody else, and you're putting everybody else, making them pay the consequences. You're making them pay the consequences for your rebellion, your degeneracy, right? And your moral and ethical rot. And you can kick against that all you want, right? You can hate me, you can try to censor me, you can try to silence me, but I'm only going to get louder because I am bigger than the body you see. Now, I know your history. I know my history. I know the history of a lot of nations. My knowledge base is not exhaustive, right? But I learn lessons, and I see the patterns. And so when you look at things from that perspective, if you want a fair, just, equitable society, you're not going to get that building it upon lies. You're going to get something worse, and ultimately it will not stand. That is the predicament you're in right now.